Hey guys, welcome to Nerd Talk. Today is our monthly Throwback Thursday, and we're going to be discussing my choice for this month, which is one of my favorite movies, probably up in my top five of Back to the Future. We do this once a month, on a Thursday. Last month we did Gone with the Wind, which was Kevin's choice, and this one is mine. And then he's going to get to pick something at the end of this one for our next one, which will be sometime next month. We'll let you know when the next one's going to be. Yeah. So Kevin, what are your thoughts right on Back to the Future?
Well, Back to the Future, I think that it's a common favorite movie for a lot of people. I remember going to the theater to see this movie.
Oh, you got to go to the theater to see it?
Yeah,
Oh, you're
yeah.
lucky.
And well, Sheila and I used to go a couple times a week,
Oh yeah.
and she probably was pregnant with you. So you got to go to the theater to see it, right? And because it was 1985, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, um, yeah, I mean, this movie is kind of near and dear to my heart in a lot of sense. I mean, it's when Michael J. Fox actually really became a star. I mean, he was on TV, right? But it was a sitcom, and yes, he was well known. Uh, he was he always portrayed someone a lot younger than what he really was,
Yeah. It's
right?
hard to really tell his age too. Like,
Yeah, and so like even in the show, I mean, he was an adult male, but he was playing a kid,
yeah.
right? And what was it, Family Ties? I think
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Family Ties, I believe. And and he played this right-wing kid that, but his parents were very liberal and whatever. And so, you just kind of got to laugh at this but so that's all we really knew of Michael J. Fox, other than at the time he was a Canadian and really that's what we knew about him. Um, Now, late then when this movie came out, and I can remember, listening to things on the radio and announcers and stuff say this is probably the movie that's going to make Michael J. Fox a household name,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is what's going to make him a big star, and that's exactly what this movie did,
Oh, it did. I'm
right?
just double checking make sure that we got the right show because there's another show that's very similar that I just want to make sure that it was.
I think the other one was Growing Pains.
Right. Yes, that's the one that I'm getting confused with. I want to make sure that it wasn't that, but I think yeah, you're right. Absolutely with the
Yeah,
yeah.
and the thing is that this show, like the show that he was on, I don't know if it would have been a big deal, except that it was aired
Mm-hmm.
directly after the Cosby Show,
Right. Right.
and that's when it was on television, and so it sort of carried on the coattails of the Cosby Show, which at the time was the biggest show on TV,
Oh, it
right?
was. I like that was huge for a long time.
Yeah, and so this movie comes out, and you know, obviously it's Michael J. Fox. The reason that Michael J. Fox, like to this day, is kind of near and dear to my heart is because he has Parkinson's disease,
Yes.
and it kind of came out of nowhere. And he has done, with the Michael J. Fox Foundation, he has done amazing things for Parkinson's
Oh,
disease.
he has. He's brought so much awareness too. Like,
He has.
yeah.
And because of that, it carries on into other genetic diseases. So with and of course my pet project is Huntington's disease, and it actually does help in that regard as well.
Oh yeah.
So Michael J. Fox, when I see him, you got to say I love this guy,
Oh, I
right?
do too.
Yeah. So anyway, with Back to the Future, I mean it's a science fiction film, and it's directed by Robert Zemeckis, and starring Michael J. Fox
Yeah.
as Marty McFly. and he accidentally travels back in time from 1985 to 1955, and in a DeLorean that is powered by plutonium. But he gets there and he doesn't have any plutonium to give back.
No, you can't easily get it in the 1950s.
Yes.
No.
So there, and it's a funny movie. Doc is like this fantastic character.
Oh, he
It,
is. They couldn't have
yeah,
cast that better.
yeah. So Doc is this inventor who has invented this time machine. And so when Marty McFly goes back and he realizes that he can't get back to 1985, he has to find the younger Doc to help him to get back to 1985. And in the process, he meets his parents who
Mm-hmm.
are in high school at
Right.
the time, and his mother becomes his love interest,
Yeah. And it's
right?
crazy because you hear at the beginning, remember she's telling her kids in the before this he travels this story always, you know how families tell the same stories over and over again, and she always was saying how her father was they met by him getting run over by his dad in their vehicle,
Yeah,
and she was taking care of him and stuff
she was
like that.
nursing him back to, yeah,
Yeah, and so he ends up showing up at when he lands in this area. He lands on this farm, and then he takes off to go to, I don't know. He ends up just finding his father up in a tree, spying on realizing he was a peeping tom,
yeah, yeah,
peeping on his future mom in the window, and ends up and Marty ends up getting hit by the car
yeah.
instead. And so yeah, that and then things get a little weird.
Yeah, it does. But now go back to 1985, and his parents are these people that like, well, she's kind of I don't know, a depressed alcoholic type of
Yeah.
person, and his father is very cowardly,
Yes. And
right?
they have this Biff that's
Yes,
just a nightmare.
yes. And so when you go back to 1955, he starts seeing like why, and he has a mission to make sure that things are changed to a certain extent. He has to change because he has to make sure that, oh, how'd that go? His mother, how
Well,
they met,
it
and
was
all that
at
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, it was at well, after they met, they went to this under the or something under the seas. Oh, I can't remember. It was this theme dance. I think it was called something under the sea. Not, I can't remember what exactly it was called, but they kissed at that dance,
That's right.
and that was what set off their relationship, and they never parted since then.
Yeah.
They
Now,
got
just
married.
before, what's important to note too, is just before they he goes back in time, Libyan terrorists show up,
Right.
which is how it became an accident because they killed Doc.
Right.
They shot and killed him. And so Marty takes off and accidentally goes back, and that's how that happened. So now he knows that Doc had got killed, and so he goes to see Doc and tell him. Of course, Doc believes him because, like he's like, I did it, and he realized that he must have invented what he was looking for,
Yeah.
right? And it took all those years before he finally, had gotten what he did. And so, Doc has to, now. Of course, he has the machine. He just got to power it,
Yeah. And there's
right?
really no way to back then.
No. So he figures out a way that because they knew when the clock no longer worked, it was hit by lightning. So
Mm-hmm.
they knew what time because the clock was stuck on that time, and they
Right.
knew that a lightning bolt was going to come at a certain point, and they would harness that energy to allow him to go back to 1985. But of course, you see, as you see through the movie, he's getting this. Doc is getting this information,
Yes.
right? That
Yes.
he knows what's going to happen to him, but Marty doesn't tell him that until later. Like he doesn't go into a lot of detail because he doesn't want to tell him that he's going to die.
No, yeah, that's not something that you want to say.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, and there's also the whole issue of messing with the future, like,
Yes.
but he doesn't really know too much right now about the repercussions of messing with the future and stuff until Doc explains it to him.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, he's so over the top,
Oh yeah, and
right?
that's what makes it amazing because that's what they modeled. They modeled him after, I can't remember who. I know that Albert Einstein was one of them, and there was some other
Yeah.
guy I can't remember, but they nailed it right on with that casting.
Oh, yes.
Because and one more thing I want to say about the casting choice for, they had this other guy. I'm gonna figure out what his name was. Original Marty McFly actor. Eric Stoltz they had picked for this one. They didn't want him, but they wanted Michael J. Fox, but they wouldn't give up, or the show that he was on. What was the show called that you said? Well, it was
Family
it
Ties.
Family Ties, yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't want to give him up because, of the fact of how successful that show is, and they didn't want to give him up.
Yeah, it was due to him too.
Yeah.
Like,
So they tried this other guy and ended up not work. It just didn't work out. So they ended up working out some deal with the show that he was on there at Family Ties, so that he could do both. And
Yeah.
he literally he would sleep for like 2 hours. He would film Family Ties during the day and the other one during the night until 6 a.m. and then just sleep for a little bit. And yeah, and they had to reshoot all of the scenes that had Eric Stoltz in it, which was like half the movie by that time.
Yeah.
But it was because of the producer Steven Spielberg was co-producer, and he was the one that put his foot down and said he wanted Michael J. Fox to be that character to end. Good thing he did.
Yes, it is, because there's nobody really can do that part
No.
like Michael J. Fox did. And just, I mean, his whole quirkiness, that he has these facial expressions and whatever, and it's just perfection. I don't even think he's acting.
No, he's so believable.
Yeah, and it does come across just perfection. He's kind of like the skater boy kid, right? Who, and then, oh my goodness, I mean, I know I'm jumping ahead a little
No,
bit.
no. Well, that's just what I like to do in these. Just talk.
Yeah, I mean, when he goes back, when he finally goes back, because they did something in the show which made Biff, who was this bully, right? And really, it was that relationship between with him and his father, George McFly, that caused George to be I don't know, somehow less. He just never had the confidence
Right. He couldn't stand
whatever.
up to him.
He could not, and so that affected him for the whole rest of his life.
Yeah.
And so when Marty goes back, you can see where he made him stand up
Yeah.
to Biff. So when he goes back to 1985, his whole world is different, right? And he has his own vehicle. He I mean, they have a nice home. They're like, it's just a. They're his parents are all like preppy, like they got the sweater with the arms down around their
They're all thin
necks.
and fit
Yes,
and all this stuff, and
yeah. And then Biff's there, and Biff's like this caretaker or whatever,
like
gardener or whatever, and yes, right away, Mr. McFly, right away.
yeah.
So the roles completely changed, and it was kind of interesting to see how, yes, history or he did change the future, but he didn't change it so that it was bad,
Mm-hmm.
right?
No, no.
And I think, if memory serves me correct, there was a part in the movie where his picture was fading.
Yes. See, that started to happen right when he was hit by the car instead of
Yeah.
his father,
Yes.
and as soon as his mother started to have feelings for Marty, and it's so uncomfortable to see it, but it's just one of those things. I mean, she doesn't know who he is. She doesn't know
No.
that that this is her son. It's just one of those things, but she does clue in later when they end up having to share a kiss because of the like. We'll get to that part, but she
Yeah.
clues in then that something's not right here, and
Yeah.
she's like, it's
Yeah.
like,
She has this feeling.
yeah, yeah, and it's like this movie.
But she named her. She names her son. She names her son after himself.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's the reason that she named him Marty, is
yeah.
because of that, right? Because she named him after this guy that
Oh yeah,
she had met when she was a teenager, which
yeah.
happened to be her son, and she just didn't know it.
And I love this movie because of how complex but simple the story is. Everybody can follow along, and it stands. Like it stands out up today. Like I watched it again the other day for like the 100th time,
Yeah.
and it's just insane. And the music in it, the way that I like even the beginning scene when he goes over to Doc's and there's all those crazy inventions
Yeah.
and like I don't really know how they got to be like friends. It doesn't really cover that, but they just seem to be like he's somebody that Doc has kind of took under his wing, sees what kind of a person that he's got this potential. I think that's what I got from it, that he sees him as kind of his intellectual equal and somebody that he can talk to about his experiments and not that takes him seriously, because when he said that he had built a time machine, like who else would have actually taken him seriously, right? Like
Right. Right.
but he did. Like he took him. He knew that if he says that he built a time machine, then he developed a time machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you were talking about the music too,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one reason why Sheila and I went to see Huey Lewis and the News in concert.
Because of that scene at when he's playing for the school, the dance.
That is the power of love,
Yeah.
right? That song, right? And of course there's several, but I mean it was Huey Lewis and the News, right? That's sang that song, right? Played that song. So we went to see them in Halifax at the stadium down there, and it was a great concert. Huey Lewis and the News, um, and of course when you're standing there watching this concert and you hear these songs from from this soundtrack, um, you're gone. It brings you back,
Oh yeah.
because music, I find music is particularly sensitive to times in your life, right? I mean, taste does for me too, but sound is something that, like, music is something that really puts you in a particular place at a certain time, and you can remember a lot of times when you first heard that song or whatever, and you'll feel like you're like almost like deja vu,
Oh yeah.
right? and that was one of them because I remember we went to the Paramount Theater in Kentville to watch this movie, and and thinking, oh my, like this is really something else. Now there was a lot of movies out around that time that sort of picked up on a lot of that kind of stuff with a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
and there's Revenge of the Nerds and Weird Science and a bunch of these movies, and they were all good movies, but this one stands out.
Oh, it does. And it's because of the uh, the intense amount of character building, and what I'm going to be doing is whenever it's my turn to pick, I'm going to, for Throwback Thursdays, I'm going to be going through the other ones in this series as well, like so that we get through the whole trilogy too. But
Hmm.
oh god, there's so many little things too that I want to talk about this movie before I forget. Um so oh so after his okay, he meets the doc,
Yeah.
and wants to, or he says to him, we have to find some way to get you back home. And he gives him this snooze thing showing that the clock is going to be struck by lightning. From this is something that he had taken with him.
Yeah.
And so the doc was like, okay, well, you can spend a week here. This happens next Saturday, and we'll figure it out in the meantime. And he's like, okay, yeah, I can spend a week here. That's no problem. And he's like, you can maybe take me around, do some sightseeing. And the doc is like, no, no, but he's already been around, right? And he's like, you
Yeah.
cannot go anywhere. Like, you have to, like, if you even have you even talked to anybody? And he's like, why? and he's like
Yeah.
and he's like, I might have accidentally bumped into your parents. And he's like, oh my god, Marty. and he's
Yeah.
like and he's like, you then he goes on this rant of like this the repercussions of this and the and great Scott. It's just-
Yeah. Great Scott. Yeah. Yeah.
and he's like, look at where, give me that picture that you showed me. And then he noticed an arm was missing.
Yeah.
And that's when they, from his sister.
Hmm.
And that's when the picture started fading.
Yeah.
And gradually over time, as the like, because his mother is got this really big crush on her. And when he wakes up there, he thinks, after he got hit by the car there, we're kind of jumping all over the place here, but that's
Yeah.
okay, whatever. I
Yeah.
just talking about points that I liked about it. When he wakes up there at their farmhouse,
Hmm.
he hears his mom's voice. Like, he's like, oh no, I was having, oh, thank god it was just a dream. It was just having the worst dream that I traveled back in time and all this stuff. And then his mom, who was just like a 17,
Yeah.
she's like, oh, it's okay, you're back now, you're right here in good old 1955. And then he looks over and he sees his mom. And I just want to say that Leah Thompson, who plays his mom, she does an amazing job in this role,
Yes, she does.
because
Yeah.
this is an actress that has played, not, if you watch all, like, I don't want to get into the other ones yet, the other movies yet, but she portrays so many different Lorraines. And like the young one, the old and kind of depressed
Yeah.
drinking one, these are all when she's 40 or when she's
Yeah.
17. Then she, and she goes on to the other movies where they put her in different situations, and she's pulls this off like so well.
Yeah.
And oh, I don't know, I think that my favorite version of her would probably be the young one.
Yes.
When she's like smoking, he finds out that she's just sitting there smoking, and he's like, "You smoke?" And he's like, and she's like, well, "Don't be a square, Marty."
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. And then she starts swigging this drink, and he's like, he's like, "You, my God!" And you're, 'cause she was drinking at the dance, and he's like taking it from her, and he's like, she's like, "Anybody who's anybody drinks."
Yeah. He's just so he's just so taken aback by this. He just cannot believe it.
Well, because she had said to him when that she had never ever done anything like that before, because she was trying to pull off or pretend to be kind of a role model, obviously.
Yeah.
Like you lie to your kids. I mean, I don't
Some
really.
do.
I don't go into specifics, but I don't lie because I think it could do more damage than good if you like.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever lied about things. I've been open book.
Yeah.
When it comes to what I did things as a teenager, whatever.
There comes a certain time in your life, in your kids' lives, when I think that it's okay to, I mean, when they're like maybe 5,
Oh, that's different.
Yeah, but once they start to get to be, it helps to have an open, honest dialogue, I think, with your children, so that they know to come to you in certain situations.
Yeah. But and that's like you see this happening with Marty, who his whole what he saw was what was his mother is shattered.
Right, his image.
Yes.
And then
he sees her in a different light.
And then when he meets, goes downstairs and sees like his grandparents and his aunts and uncles who are just little kids and stuff like that. And he goes over to the crib and he's like, "You're my Uncle Joe."
Yeah.
He's like, "Better enjoy being, or better get used to being in those bar or behind bars there," and because he's in the crib, and he's like, and they're like, "Yeah, for some reason he loves it in there, cries every time we take him out." So, I'm guessing that he's got like a criminal in the family. I mean, we all got one, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. There's always that one.
Yeah.
And but that whole scene at the table was so funny because of just the dialogue of what was happening, because they brought out this TV that of course was black and white, and they had just got it that day, and they were like, "Push it up to the table, we'll watch The Honeymooners." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I know this episode, this is a classic." And they're like, "Classic? Like this is a brand new episode." He's like, "Oh yeah, this is a class. This is a classic back from when I was from." Every time he gets himself in a situation, he's like, "Back where I was from." But and she's
no, I thought that George, the guy who plays George, was good too.
Oh yeah.
As a father, and he had to play the beaten down one.
Mm-hmm.
Plus he also had to play a successful one, and then he had to play him as a teenager.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think that that's quite demanding.
Oh yeah, it is. And then there's and the whole thing, Biff is probably one of my most like, the actor was amazing who did
Oh
Biff.
yeah.
And he ad-libbed. I had heard that he did a lot of ad-libbing for that, and made up a lot of the lines, but when every time that he'd go over and knock on his head, hello,
Yeah.
or
McFly.
Butthead.
Yeah.
He said buttheads. And then there was the scene that seems to happen in all of them when he gets on this roller scooter. Whoa.
A skateboard.
Way off here. And I can't remember the situation that he got himself into that time. To had something to do with his mom.
They were when they chased him. You mean when the?
Yeah, like there's three different situations in all the movies where this happens, except for the
Yes,
yeah, all of them. Something happens like that, but I can't remember what exactly
because
he
he was
had
on a hoverboard at one
that
time.
was the second. That was
That's right.
episode 2, and I don't remember. But I all I can remember was is that there was like people like they were all chasing him, and he was escaping on the skateboard, and then ended up or Biff ends up, falling and all this cow manure falls on him, and that was like.
Yeah,
But I can't remember what the situation was
yeah.
that
I can't either, but that's okay. That's okay. It's been a long time. I mean, that. How old is that movie now? It's
1985.
yeah. So 35 years.
Has it been that long since you've watched it?
No, no. Because I had kids
Mm.
and they watched it, at home and what have you, right? Back in the Blockbuster days, and you go get a movie or whatever, and the kids would pick out one or whatever, and so we would have watched it then. Also, there used to be a place over here in New Minas that there, there when you had VHS recorders, you could rent a VHS,
Mm.
and a bunch of movies or whatever. If you didn't have a video, cassette recorder at home to play it on a VCR, they had the digital disc player as well,
Mm.
and which lost out to the VHS, right? And it had this great big square things that you shoved into I mean, they were big. They were probably, oh my goodness, at least they must have been over a foot wide, like they were square, right? So
Mhm.
there must have been like at least 12 by 12, or at least, or it might have been bigger. It seems to me, my memory, that it was bigger, but you used to be able to go over here to New Minas and you'd rent one of these video disc players and 30 movies, and you could keep it for the whole month
Oh, whoa.
for $30,
Nice.
right? And I can remember that we'd always put Back to the Future
Yeah.
in that, because they were mostly older movies that were available on these video discs. No new movies, because they just didn't make them anymore, right? And but it was kind of a fun rental, because you had a movie every night, and but I can remember doing that with Back to the Future, and
Mhm.
and so the kids would be watching these,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You probably don't remember, but you did, right?
Oh, I
And
remember cuz that's why this is kind of one of my always been always will always be one of my favorites. And there's certain parts of it that like still, get
resonate,
yeah, like when he's hanging from that clock tower and
yeah.
stuff like that. Trying but when
Doc, you mean?
yeah, Doc. And there's like certain like the music and the score and stuff of it, like the score music in it is really good as
Yeah.
well, and I'm pretty sure that because it was co-produced by Steven Spielberg, so
Hmm.
I'm sure that he would have had some sort of say with that, and he's really, whenever he's involved in a movie, like it's always, in my opinion, it's always good. He didn't direct this one though, but
No,
it's
no.
a Robert Zemeckis.
I can never.
Zemeck
Zemecker, Zemeck.
Zemeckis.
Yeah.
Zemeckis?
Zemeckis.
I'm not sure. Looks like
Whatever. As
Zemeckis.
Archie Bunker would say, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, as his family's starting to disappear from this picture, he's realizing that he's got to figure out some way to get his parents together, and so this whole thing is him this week that he's there trying to fix what he's done, and it's just not working. Like, and she's just too hung up on him. She sees him as this because he's, stood up for her with Biff and punched Biff for her, because Biff is like always seems to be all over her, and she's not interested in her, and so anyway, so he's just trying to find situations where he can get.
Well, he's thinking back to stories they told about how they had met and how they fell in love and all this stuff, and there was one thing, there was a kiss.
Yeah, so he knew that like he had to make sure that they ended up at the dance together, because right now, by the time they get to the dance, she's with Marty, and that's when she starts drinking and smoking in the car, and Marty is like, ugh, I'm just repulsed by it.
Yeah. But he does succeed.
Yeah, he does, which is good. And
he gets them to kiss.
He does. And but like before that, he's up on stage playing this song, and he's starting to disappear. Do you remember that part?
Yes.
He, like, his fingers are starting to disappear because they've already decided that they wanted to spend the rest of the dance together, but some other guy comes and takes his mom and says, "I'm cutting in here," and George is like, okay, and he starts walking away, and then he comes, and at that moment, that's when Marty starts to disappear. Yeah. And he's like, oh, no, like, he can't even play. He's like, I can't play. And then he starts, like, falling down and stuff. And then George comes back, goes after them, punches the guy in the face, and they have their kiss, and then all of a sudden Marty's just right back to normal, and the pictures, everybody reappears in the picture, and they then he goes then it's time for him to go home. And I'm telling you, that scene when he has to when Doc is trying to get on the clock tower to
connects the cord.
Yeah. Oh my God. That whole scene just is so tense.
Yeah.
It's the suspense in that scene, and yeah, that for some reason still gets me when I watch it.
Because he also, not only has to have power, but he has to be going a certain speed.
Yeah. Because he has to make sure that he's going and that he has to start at the exact moment that he said. And the car stalls.
Yeah.
And he's like, he just puts it, because this is it has to be timed perfectly.
Yeah. And he's only got one chance.
Yes, one chance. And he's stuck there for forever. Yeah. And he's just like, he's banging his head against the steering wheel, and then it's all of a sudden it starts, and he goes, and Doc is able to connect these chords with this big intense moment. Like, you were just like freaking out, and then the lightning strikes, and he's gone.
Yeah.
But then he's home, and that's when he goes to see his family, who's now their lives are different, and so I don't know. Some people might think that that's not really a good ending, and because they're, things are different. He changed the timeline, but their lives were changed for the better. I mean, what would it really be that bad if to come back to have a happier life with? I don't see the problem.
No, I don't see the problem with it either. Because
I heard some people saying that was one big issue that they had with the movie, was how he changed the timeline so much and just didn't seem to care. But to me, if everybody's happy and everybody's doing well, I mean, his
Well,
sister,
Biff wasn't all that happy.
no, but he had his chance.
Yeah.
He got what everybody ended up getting what they deserved.
Yes. Yes.
And
And then, of course, he finds out about Doc.
yes, yeah, um, those because when he first arrives, that's when he's seeing the scene. He comes back to the exact moment that he left, and he sees those guys shooting him. But and then he because he had given, oh yeah, we didn't mention, he had given Doc a note, and Doc
Yes,
picked it up and said, I don't want to know anything about the future. It could, cause a gap in the space time
that's
continuum and
right.
all that stuff. And
That's how he told him he was going to die.
yeah, and then all of a sudden he opens, or he goes down. He thinks Doc's dead because he sees him fall, but again, and all of a sudden he sits up and he opens up his shirt and he's got on this bulletproof vest.
Yeah.
And then after his scene at home, he's going out to see his girlfriend, and who they were supposed to go to on this date, but
Yeah.
Doc shows up
Yes, he
in
does.
this futuristic clothes and all this stuff, and he's like, we have to go, Marty. And he's like what he's like, everything, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, he was
Your
saying,
kids are in
your
trouble.
kids.
Yeah. Your kids are in trouble. And he's talking about the road or something, and
Yeah.
he says, "Oh, well, we're going. We don't need roads." And then that DeLorean flies.
Yeah.
He had
And
modified it.
mhm.
Yeah. And of
And he,
course, that led to the sequel.
which we'll cover on another time.
Hmm.
But yes, this one definitely for me is a 5 out of 5. Actually, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I thought we were gonna do it out of
Out
10
of
now.
tens, yeah, we're doing tens now.
Yeah, yeah,
10
yeah.
out of 10.
I have to give it a 10 out of 10. I do. I think that it's a movie that's always going to be remembered fondly. I can't see anyone judging this film harshly in any way. Um, yeah, to me, it's a 10 out of 10 for this film. You can't help but be entertained by it, and that's what a movie's for.
And if you haven't seen this movie, then I feel so bad for you. You really got to stop living under a rock and
Yeah.
come out from this rock and
Just
join
watch the
us.
movie. Just have some fun. Just have some fun with it. That's what it is. It's a fun movie, and you don't take it so seriously. But you know what? It may be a fun movie, but it is a serious movie. I
It
mean, you got to
is.
understand that that it's what made Michael J. Fox a star,
Oh, yeah.
right? And I don't think that Michael J. Fox is anybody to sneeze at.
No.
You know, he's done serious acting as well.
Oh,
You know.
oh yeah.
What was it? What show? He's one. Was it West Wing or one of those?
He was in Spin City.
Spin City. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I found him very serious in that in a lot of ways. And of course, you're starting to see a little bit of the Parkinson's,
Yeah. And that's
right?
so unfortunate that had happened to
A lot of people
him.
were really saddened by that, when that
Hmm.
happened. And but from what I understand, there was other people on that set that also got it.
Really?
Yeah, he wasn't the only one, and apparently it just came out of nowhere. And there was some investigations in regards to that, um, as to why would other people have been affected by this, um, and it got Parkinson's, just not passed on. It just came
That
about.
seems very strange.
Yeah, um, I had read something about that, and I should recheck that because
Yeah.
uh, to see, because back then I wasn't really in tune to what the difference between fake news and real. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, nowadays I know, right? I know
Yeah.
what the difference.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and
It's
because
easier.
when I became a bit of a journalist there, when I was writing news, I learned a lot about that at that time, and how news agencies handle news, right? And what the expectations are. And I'm telling you, there's no way like that we could have posted anything that was fake. It just
Oh
couldn't have
no.
happened, right? And because of the checks and balances that you have to go through in order to publish, there's no way. And uh, so, you know, so now I know all those things to check for. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I got to look that up again and just see, you know, what um
And yeah, you have, and it's also your turn to pick.
but now this has to be an old one, right?
And at least a decade old.
At
And it.
least a decade old.
Mhm.
Okay. I haven't thought about this.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm pulling this right off the top of my hat.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to say Good Morning Vietnam.
Okay. Sounds good.
Have you watched it yet?
No, but I will.
You've never watched Good Morning Vietnam.
Is it a movie or TV show?
It's a movie.
Okay, just 1 second. Let me just take a quick little look here just to see, because I'm bad with names sometimes. Good Vietnam. It's a. Is it a it's a biography? Um,
Yeah.
it says 1987.
That could be. Yeah, I'm not sure the
Yeah.
year, but because I'm pulling this right
This
off the top of my
says
head.
in 1965, unorthodox and irreverent DJ named Adrian Kroner
Yeah.
begins to shake up things when he's assigned. No, I haven't seen this, to the U.S.
Starring
Army.
Robin Williams.
Starring Robin Williams. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that I can't wait to check out.
Oh, you need to watch that. I don't know if Ronnie's seen it or not, but that might be a good movie for you both to watch together.
Oh yeah, for sure. All
Okay.
right. So perfect. So that'll be next month's Throwback Thursday, and yeah.
Have
Yep.
you watched Dracula yet?
I just was talking to Ronnie about it, and we were gonna start that tomorrow.
Oh, good, good, because we got to do something about that. That's
Yes, we guess for sure, because
okay.
we got to get a review into that. We got a bunch of ideas coming up, so a bunch of more reviews coming up. We're just kind of in discussion right now. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Talk to you later. Bye bye.